Okay, today we have a bad draft inducer. This draft inducer squirrel cage is rusted out, so we're going to pull it off and we're going to replace it. This is a carrier gas pack, so let me pull it off and we'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so we pulled it off. As you can see, the squirrel cage, very common. It rusts out mainly because it's outside and it gets out of balance, and so then this particular carriers, they don't use pressure switches, they use centrifugal switches, which is this part right here. Reads the RPMs of the motor and sends that information back to the board. Because it's out of round, it can't make the RPMs correctly, and lets the board know that there's a problem. So we're going to be replacing this. One of the things that you want to do is check your back plate. This plate here, this one's in very good shape, but if you're completely rusted out through here, then you're going to want to replace, this is what we call the back plate, or the firewall plate. And you're also going to want to check the heat exchanger, because what's the point of putting on a draft inducer on a unit with a bad heat exchanger? Now this one here, you can see the heat exchanger is pretty rusty on the inside, but we're going to check on the outside for cracks and holes. So we'll show you that in a second. Okay, so we've exposed our heat exchanger. You got to remove the side panel for that, and a lot of screws that you got to take off. But going through and physically with our hands, felt around each one of the pipes and being very careful to check every inch, every crevice, especially on the inside of these. On the other side, there'll be spots that they'll develop holes. So you got to be very thorough, feeling each and every pipe. And then if you feel a spot that's kind of extra rusty, take a little screwdriver or something, just kind of tap at it and see if it pushes through. If it does, then you got a hole. But this particular one, heat exchanger, looks to be okay. Doesn't look like it's been overheated or anything. So didn't find any cracks or any severe rust spots. So we're just going to replace the draft inducer on that. So I want to keep this door off because we're going to want to remove this plate. This is a big pain in the ass how carrier put this right in your way. But with this door off, the electrical disconnected, and it moves right out of your way, and then you can clean up the firewall plate and put everything back together nice and neat. You will also have to remove the manifold and disconnect the gas, which we'll show you that here in a second. Okay, the trick for removing these is there's going to be one screw right directly under here. You're just going to loosen this one because it's got a slip. It slides right off and on it. But there's another screw back up in here. You're going to have to completely remove this one back through here. And then you're going to have to remove the ones that you should have already removed on when you're checking the heat exchanger on this side. And so we've done that. And so now we're going to disconnect our electrical. And luckily this one has been installed with connectors. So once we got our electrical and our ground removed, then we'll be able to pull this door away from it with our gas being removed, and then this will come completely out of our way. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so I'm going to move my board up, and we got our manifold disconnected, which pulls right straight out. You're going to disconnect your gas valve wiring, your limit or your rollout wiring. Pull off your spark igniter and your flame sensor, and then it comes right out. And we're going to want to clean this up, so hold on. So with all that out, we're just going to pull it right out, and you can see we got to clean everything up. Years of debris, clean up the manifold, get it all nice and neat before we put everything back. But much easier access to our fire plate, and there again, looks pretty good. So here's our new one, all nice and bright and shiny, and it's like for like, nothing major. We're going to be putting some heat silicone on here around the edges, and that's about it. I used to use heat foam tape, but it didn't last that long. But heat silicone right along the edges works the best. We'll show you that in a second. Also, while I've got this out, I'm going to be brushing my heat exchanger. So, just gonna stick that in there as far back as we can because there's baffles. We're going to, we're not going to be able to get the entire way, but you're going to want to brush it out just in case a wasp or something made a nest up in there. So, yeah. So this is my old heat exchanger brush. If you don't have one of these, you need one, just for these type of situations. And some of the old heat exchangers used to use these on a regular basis just because how bad they would get yearly. But so now we got that clean. We're going to finish cleaning up the rest of the area, and then we're going to put the draft inducer on. Okay, we got the draft inducer in place. Now these screws here, you're going to tighten them up, but you're probably going to have to make some adjustments because that fire plate, depending upon how old it is, may have warped a little bit. And so you'll get a brand new draft inducer making noise, a scraping noise. It's where the squirrel cage is not warped, and so therefore it's hitting up against some part of the firewall plate that is warped. And so you'll make little minor adjustments, like moving it out just a teeny bit, putting a spacer in between it. So that's why I don't goop up my silicone on too heavy, so that way, you know, I can go back later and add some more. But we'll show you that here in a second. So now we're going to clean the rest of this up, put everything back together, making sure that when you get the manifold in, you're going to line up manifold with these screws here. There's little teeny screws there where the manifold is, that's where the manifold is going to connect onto. So we're going to get that ready, and I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so we got this cleaned up. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know, if you're a by-the-job guy like we do, then you're not going to spend 10 hours cleaning a manifold. So you're going to line it up just nice and neat. Once you got it completely lined up, your bottom screw and everything should fit really easy and fit like a glove. If it's not lining up, then you got a problem. So, but this one's lining up good, and so now we're gonna start putting back our plate here. There is a heat shield that goes back behind here. We're gonna put that on. Then we're gonna put on our heat exchanger sidewall, put everything back together. So we'll show you that in a second. All right, so always change your capacitor. This is gonna be a 4 microfarad capacitor. I don't care if it's, unless the capacitor's been changed recently. Just as a, if you're changing the motor, you always want to change the capacitor. But that'll be a 4 microfarad. And then we're going to finish connecting all the wires. For as far as the wiring, you're going to want to make sure that you follow the wiring diagram. Otherwise, your yellow wire is going to be your flame sensor. This is your spark igniter. Your brown and gray right here going to your gas valve, and then you've got a purple, brown, and yellow that are going to the draft inducer, and you can put that to the capacitor and onto the board. So I'll show you that in a second. Okay, now got got everything back together, and we're gonna fire her up, and we're gonna be listening for the draft inducer if it's gonna make any noise, and especially when it heats up. So we're gonna wait till she heats up, and then we're gonna listen again to the draft inducer. Okay, so she's firing. Everything looks good. We're still going to wait just to make sure that when that firewall plate heats up, that it's not going to warp, and you're not going to get a grinding between the squirrel cage and the fire plate wall. Because if we get that, then we'll have to adjust. But I don't think this one's going to do it. I usually wait about 15 minutes, and that's good enough time. So, but as always, guys, like, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.